Martin Seligman did a wonderful piece of research out of UPenn that just writing down at the end of the day 3 amazing things that you experienced has a significant impact in life satisfaction. It can impact your relationships with others.
Yeah.
If you are depressed, people that came into his study stabilized their depression. People that were not depressed that came into this study, after I think it was 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month follow-up, they had a significant overall increase in their overall life satisfaction. It's as simple as writing down 3 amazing things, right? And so that's one way to train optimism and gratitude.
You find yourself in New York, the world is ending, financial crisis.
Yep.
And there's probably a lot of Wall Street people at that moment that need a monk.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Is that is that your customer base? Like who'd you start sitting with to try to help them?
Mainly entrepreneurs. So I didn't know very much about business,
Yeah.
and I wanted to surround myself with financially successful entrepreneurs. So I started using some monk tools to create it in my mind and surround myself with successful entrepreneurs.
And it just happened?
Yeah, you start attracting people. If you start to change the shape of your mind, by using certain techniques, you start attracting like-minded people into your life.
And so the first one comes and the second one comes before you know it, you're the center of an entrepreneurial network.
2 things. One is I wanted to work with that group of people. Second is I wanted to build a business that's successful. And where do I start? I figured I could go to business school, forget that,
right.
or learn from someone who's done it and done it really well. So I chose the second option. And I thought if I surrounded myself with these people, I could just learn from them. I believed in the power of a community.
So there's this very famous story from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, where a general a long, long time ago takes his troops on a few boats and sails to an island for a battle. And as the troops get off the boat and the general goes out to survey his enemy, the general sees that the enemy is outnumbering his troops 10-1. So he comes up with a strategy. The general lines up his troops, lights a match, and sets the ships on fire. And by burning the ships, he gives his troops an option. Either you win or you die. And sure enough, they won. And when it comes to burning your ships in your life, this is the most personal part, because this is when you're almost at the end of your journey. This is the part that makes the difference between chasing a dream and achieving your dream. And only you, deep down, know what your version of burning your ships are. So I want to challenge you, when you're at that final point of your journey, make it your final bullet, go all chips in, and when you get to that point, burn your ships.
Just the last 15 minutes of this podcast was so strong for a Monday morning about where it all starts with your mind. People don't really believe that shit, but it's true. Rudy, for me, it started when I said, I'm getting into comedy. I don't give a fuck about my credit bureau. I don't give a fuck about the credit card people. I don't give a fuck about the banks. I don't give a fuck about what I drive. I don't give a fuck about what my clothes on. Because at the end, it doesn't really matter unless you're happy. For years, I worried about my job, and I gotta have white sneakers or not. I gotta have a black shirt on it. Who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I didn't get happy till I started driving cross country with a pair of shorts on and stinky sneakers and a t-shirt, and you got 3 pair of jeans and 3 shirts, and they're lasting you all week, dog. You got like 4 pair of socks, and you get on the stage. That's when I really started getting happy. When I started waking up in the morning and knew I had to drive 200 miles, and I had $32.50 in quarters, and I had to get lunch with that, reefer, and gas to get me to that next location. For some reason, I'd be happy. A lot happier than making $1,200 a week and paying my bills. I was like, this is what I like. I like this. So it's food for thought. Sometimes it's not about the money or the dollars. It's about what brings a smile to your face. And once you find it, let yourself go. Don't think about it. Don't look back. Don't compare prices. Don't listen to your uncle about taking that roofing job for $12.50 for stability. You know what? Stability's overrated, dog. Stability's overrated.
Absolutely.
I think happiness is doing what you want to the hilt. And even if you're broke, I was in comedy for I was in comedy for 12 years before I saw a dime. Yeah, well, you were getting paid, but nothing to write home about. I could have quit at any time in those 12 years and found a job. I would have tricked somebody into being an indoor salesman. I didn't want to do that. I would have rather live on $8,000 a year and do my own thing and around at night and smoke pot with your stupid buddies and get on stage than go into an office. Insurance, who gives a f***? When you think about insurance, that's when you need insurance. For 30 years, I ran around with no insurance. Nothing ever happened to me.
You've got this, I really like the titles, I really want to go after it, I'm way intense, I want to win, I'm all in. Getting in that kind of shape is brutally difficult. But then at the same time, you can balance it with the playfulness, and it's not all about that. How have you learned to strike that balance, and maybe more importantly, how do you teach other people to do that?
I've learned if I don't learn to strike that balance, that when I go too extreme in either one, I'm not happy. I feel very scattered, I feel frantic, I feel crazy. So I think that for me, when I start feeling a little bit chaotic, so for me it shows up in a very like grasping for straws. Things aren't happening, like I'm running into a wall, like the feeling of banging your head against a wall. That's what it feels like for me. And I know a lot of people can relate to that, and I think especially a lot of people in fitness might get into it to kind of like, maybe they're anxious or it calms their nerves, because I think I run really on the anxious side. So for me, if I don't learn how to control that, I'll go to the extreme of something. So it's a must for me. I actually think it's a must for everyone to kind of find how to dance in the different categories of your life, because we're not just one thing. And when we go all in on one thing, we're severely neglecting the other parts of us, which makes for an empty human, you know, which makes for someone who never feels full. So I have to remember that there's so many parts of me that I need to make sure that I'm fulfilling.
All right, so going into the darkness, I think everybody is motivated by two different things. One, you have the beautiful things in your life, the things that are going well, the things that you're grateful for, the things you're moving towards instead of away. You have a compelling vision of your future. It's something that you're very excited about. All of those things are the beautiful things. Now, the flip side of that equation are the things that, it's people that doubt you, it's haters, it's things you're moving away from, it's fear-based things, it's something that you absolutely refuse to let happen. So one that is incredibly potent to me are the people that want to see me fail. So it's very different than people who just think you're going to fail. I actually don't have a lot of aggression towards people like that, but people that want me to fail, those people I have a lot of aggression for. And I find in very acute moments, the darkness serves you better. In very acute moments. Now, the light, the things you're moving towards, the things that are beautiful, the things that you're grateful for, all of that is the only winning strategy long term, because the darkness becomes corrosive. You start to become bitter. You start to be angry. You stop being optimistic. You stop seeing things in a way that's empowering and positive. And I mean, just thinking about the deep limbic system, when it gets inflamed, you perceive things as negative. I think negativity stops people from making progress. There's a whole host of neurological reasons and sort of mindset reasons why I think that being negative over the long run becomes very, very detrimental and holds you back. But from an acute standpoint, they've done studies on this. If you want someone to be able to endure more pain, the surest way to get people to endure more pain is to let them get angry, let them be aggressive. And in doing that, people are able to withstand in the clinical trials. I'll say there's probably more than this, but in clinical trials, they're able to withstand 30% more pain. So just straight being able to take more pain, anger and aggression lets you do 30% more. So that's why I think in acute ways, in short-term bursts, that the darkness will serve you.
I've always been left-handed, right-brained, and very visual about everything in my life. And I remember I have an older brother and a younger sister, and when my brother was off to school, I was about 5 years old. I hadn't gone to kindergarten yet. I used to just sit and draw all day long. And it was something where I remember being inside of a painting or a picture or a drawing, and time would stop. I would be there for almost, I remember starting a drawing or whatever, and it would turn into night. It would be 8 hours have gone by, and it felt like literally 20 minutes. And I got better and better, but this is the deal too, is that I was always disappointed as an artist because it never looked the way I wanted it to look. So every drawing, every painting became this effort to make what was in my head match what was on the paper. And I'm still doing that. I mean, in regards to performances, in regards to drawing, in regards to my furniture, in regards to all the things that I've ever tried to do, it's still not as good as it is in my head. And that's crazy. It's weird, but I think my whole life has been trying to match up with this thing and this vision that I have in my head. And I don't think I'll ever get there, but it's fun to try.
In terms of picking what to do, I want to report to all of you that in my whole life, I've never succeeded much in something I wasn't interested in. So I don't think you're going to succeed if what you're doing all day doesn't interest you. And you've got to find something you're interested in, because it's just too much to expect of human nature that you're going to be very good at something you deeply dislike doing. And so that's one big issue. And of course, you have to play in a game where you've got some unusual talents. You do not want to play, if you're 5'1", you don't want to play basketball against a guy that's 8'3". It's just too hard. And so you got to figure out a game where you have an advantage, and it has to be something you're deeply interested in.
Let me tell you how good my day was today in jiu-jitsu. I got there 5 to 10. I warmed up. I did some jumping jacks, some push-ups. I did some bridges. I did a few hip escapes, and that's long at VMAC. It's a long thing. And I got in my guard, and I go, John, beat me up. And he passed my guard every time. Didn't submit me, but he passed my guard every time.
Damn, he didn't submit you.
But here's the beauty of it. Here's what my accomplishment was. Even though he passed my guard and I moved my legs and I got him in a half guard basically all the times, towards the end, when Henry got there, I went into deep half. And I went the wrong direction. But in my world, I went into deep half. I wouldn't have done that 6 months ago. I didn't even know how it worked. And guess what? I threw his balance off. For me, that's a start.
That's awesome.
Do you understand me?
Yeah, of course.
And you have to do the same thing with comedy or anything like that. You have to take little accomplishments and not lose your mind when you do get a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Look at it in perspective and go, okay, this is why that happened. At least I know it could happen again. Now, if it happens again, I'm a bad you know what I'm saying? But if it no, and that's like, you know, for a comic, okay, I come to see, this really happened to me, Eddie. This really happened to me. Some guy used to give me a lot of work. Cool, I still talk to him. This is back in Denver, 23 years ago. This guy used to give me work. And one night he called me up. He got me a gig one night. And before I got on stage, I go, what do you want me to do? He knew. Probably worked with him every day. You know what your students could do. You see him every day. He goes, do 15, you know, and this is 1995. I've been doing comedy 4 years. I was struggling to do 15, 16. I would struggle, Eddie. This motherfucker went outside and fucked some chick. He was supposed to give me a light at 12. But he went out and started fucking some chick. And I just kept going, Eddie. I just kept going. And I had him. And he came back in, and he gave me the light, and then when I got off, he goes, wait right there. He goes, Doug, I'm sorry, this chick, you ended up doing 38 minutes. I couldn't sleep that night because I never dreamt of doing 38 minutes, but I did it. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you would have came to me and said, Joey, I'm going to buy and do 20, I would have choked. I would have straight up choked. But since there was no clock in my mind, that's when I knew. You know what I'm saying? I went home that night and I almost called CAA. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna lie to nobody. I almost called the CBS and said, fire Dave Letterman. I did 38 minutes at some hellhole last night in Denver. I swear to God. You're walking so high. It's such a big accomplishment. It's such a big accomplishment. Those little things are the ones that keep you in the game. Okay, I did 38. I'll do it again. Then for a year, you bomb. You can't do 30. You just bomb. But eventually, if you just stick it out, dog, you're gonna make. It's a nightmare, but it's so much fun.
No one's died, gone to the other side, taken a selfie, come back, posted it on Instagram, and go, look at me here in heaven. #PearlyGates. Right? No, we don't know. We have our beliefs, and some of us hold strong to our beliefs, but we really don't know what happens at the point of that. So most of us don't like to think about it. So we live our lives like we're going to live forever. But the truth is, we don't live forever. You've never seen a 500-year-old man or a 1,000-year-old woman who have been evolving on this planet for about 1 million, 2 million years. We all die at some point. When you realize that life is finite, it's not short, and you see these cute little quotes on Instagram saying life is short, be happy, I think that's wrong. Life is not short. Life is actually very, very long. But it's definitely finite. There's a definitive end to it for sure. When you realize that life is finite, you become clear of all of a sudden who and what's important in your life.
You learn from failure. You learn from getting hit in the pocket.
Oh, yeah.
You learn from getting hit in the pocket. You follow me? When you're giving somebody half your money and you got to sell your house, and you learn. I made a mistake. Next time, I'm going to play a little closer to my chest. That's how you learn in life. It's not by reading a book, because you're not going to listen or read. The Art of War is going to teach you how to, or the War of Art is going to teach you how to plan and strategize, or both how to get rid of your fears or whatever. But it's not going to tell you what to do and what not to do, and what's a mistake and what's not a mistake. Nobody knows. You think Kenny Rogers, when he invested in that chicken company, he thought that, they came to him with a deal. Who the knows until you try it? You don't get smart by reading a book or reading about Nostradamus. You get smart by failing. And then you decide what you're not going to do no more. I won't be doing that shit no more.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
If you're in politics, the media, the tech industry, working as an entrepreneur or a teacher or a construction worker or a caregiver, you know the problems we are all facing. And I urge each one of you to ask yourselves, what do we do now? That's a big question. What is it in your life that you think you cannot accomplish? Or what is it that people have said that you cannot do? Wouldn't it feel really good to prove them all wrong?
My closest friends and my mom and my closest confidants always say that I'm very determined and very stubborn and pushy, and that it could be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. Like, it definitely gets me what I want and need, and I'm very vocal about things and blunt. But you sort of have to be that way. You have to be your own agent, your own advocate, and you have to go for what you want in life.
Competitive mindset precedes excellence. And that competitive mindset is trainable. It's not just words that we can throw around. There's actually ways to train it. So for calm, one of the ways that you train it is through breathing. If you want to relax your system just a little bit, one deep breath is the beginnings of being able to do that. If you know that you get a little too amped up in some types of situations, and then you say to yourself, well, I'll just breathe when I get there, you're way too late. And so it's this consistent process of training your mind to train your body to be able to relax on command. And that takes time and that takes practice. And those of you who struggle maybe with public speaking or sharing things that are intimate, this would be a beautiful practice to begin. And it's not more complicated than setting your timer for maybe 2-3 minutes, maybe 6 minutes, and just follow your breathing. And that would also be the beginnings of a mindfulness practice. So you can bridge the two together. So when we're working with competitors and we're looking at how they naturally breathe just in conversation, when they start breathing up here, it's like they're closer to choking than you can imagine. And if you just take a test for yourself, and if you just took a deep breath right now, so just you can do it privately and quietly, do you start your breath here or do you start it here naturally? babies will start it here, and it's the most efficient breath down here because you get the lower lungs activated. And if we're getting into the game of high performance, what we're talking about is being extremely efficient with our systems, the most efficient we can be. And breathing up in your upper lungs is really inefficient. And it brings us closer to the opportunities that where we start to decelerate our ability to be progressive in thought and progressive in form. And so we want to accelerate all that by having effective breathing, but you have to train it.
And I found, even with myself, that it's really hard to do a minimum viable product that's minimum, that you're constantly thinking, no, it really has to have this other part, and it really has to have this. And then you overbuild, and then you have to unbuild and debuild, which is very disappointing. So doing a minimum viable product is really important, and it's even more minimum than you think it is.
From the time I was 7 years old, every Saturday I would go for 4 hours of acting class every Saturday.
Whoa.
And I loved it. I just loved it. To the point where all the kids graduated and went on to this other stuff, and I started doing adult acting classes, and then I was in the commercial classes, and then I loved like the hair and makeup classes and just everything. I just couldn't get enough.
Honestly, I think everyone is different and unique, and that's a good thing. It's not bad. It's kind of the best thing in the world. You don't want to be like everyone else. Growing up in high school and just junior high, just your whole life, really, either you have been taught to feel like, or you want to be like everyone else because conceptually you'll be included and you'll be like the crowd. But when you think about it, when you look at people like Lady Gaga, who is so crazy and so different and so unique, and her whole message is about, being yourself and being okay with it. And the reason she is so successful and so is because she's talented, because she's different. If she was just like Britney Spears, or if she was just like Nina Dobrev, then there would be two of us, so there'd be nothing special about that. So I think what's special is the fact that you're different, and is the fact that you're unique, and that you can bring something to the table. So if anything, embrace that uniqueness and that thing that you have that no one else does, and expand upon it and make it better and tell everyone about it and be confident in it. Because if you're confident and happy and smiling, you will attract confidence, happiness, and laughter.
I stayed pretty true to whatever my instincts are as an artist. Sometimes for worse at first, because I think when you do something that's out of the norm, you have to keep doing it for a little while to make it your own norm. So it's an exciting idea to me that I could be putting a record out and being able to be my own person, to not have to think about what I can't say or can't do because I don't want to lose people's understanding of what I do as a convention, So I'm really excited about the idea of people going, oh no, that's him. That's him.
I really didn't have anybody taking me on the road. I remember I would work with certain people, but I would never ask them to take me on the road. There were a few people who did take me on the road with them, like Todd Jordan and Rick Kearns, but I always knew that I didn't want to be that guy. I knew that I wanted to always be able to do my own thing, not just to sit at home and wait for that beck and call. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of person that I wanted to be. Like, I was still at the Comedy Store every night. I did all those Mexican rooms in South LA, every single one of them, every night of the week. That's what paid for my addiction. But at the same time, not knowing, I was also becoming a better comedian. Because I would go into deep terrain 4 nights a week and then go to the Comedy Store where everything is hunky-dory. You follow me? There's places where people come prepared to laugh, and there's places where it's a bar and you got to go up there and blow your toe off to get their attention.
I mean, I think the difference between someone who ultimately is successful and someone who isn't is just getting up and trying again. And I feel like I've seen that in my life again to other people, is that things get hard and people try again, and things get hard and people might try again, might not, and then things get hard and they just don't try again. And giving up is can't be an option. And I think that goes back to the core of making sure that whatever it is you're doing is something that you love to do. something that you enjoy, something that maybe if you didn't even get paid, would you still do it? And I think that's what pulls you through those times ultimately, but and that's what keeps you coming back for more, and that's what that passion and that love for what it is that you do is what keeps you going.
So would you say your resilience and that persistence is because you love what you do so much, or is there something about your parents or anything in your upbringing? Do you think it's...
I mean, I think that genetically I have I'm determined because my dad was very much like that for sure, very persistent and determined. But I think it's also because I found something that I love to do. And there's plenty of other stuff that I've done that I didn't keep doing. I mean, I didn't keep playing basketball, let's face it. But I kept racing. And so it was about finding that, I feel. And finding it really young. I'm very fortunate that I found it really young. And I tell everyone, young or old, is just if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? Well, why can't you do that then? At least start. At least just try to make an effort at doing it. You're not going to get there within one shot, but you just got to take baby steps and opportunities along the way. And I feel like, especially like people get out of college and they have this idea of what they want to do and they're holding out until they get it. Just get going. Just get working and get the experience and start working your way there.
I haven't actually been given a piece of advice that I can recall right now, but I guess when anyone asks me, like, what should I do? I'm just like, just do anything. Anything will lead to something else, and you just got to get out there and take a chance. Even if it's unpaid work, whatever it is, it will lead to something better, so do everything. Do everything? Yep, do it all.
I'm kind of like a crazy person when I prep. I do timelines and backstories, and I work with a dialect coach and a movement coach and an acting coach, and I need to do a lot before I show up to set so I can throw it all out the window when I get on set. But if I hadn't done all the work beforehand, I would just be too scared to.
Did you watch a lot of footage of Tonya Harding? And
I've watched every single piece of footage there is on her 1,000 times over, and I had a voice in my iPod. I'd go to sleep listening to her. I mean, I lived in Tonya land for a long time.
You are only going to go as far as you think you're worthy. I can push, you can have the greatest product, but if you don't feel worthy, you will work hard to sabotage that relationship. You don't know you're doing it. Right. You don't know you're doing it. You just think these are the things I need, and you're driving that guy away. You're driving that woman away because your self-worth says they weren't going to stay forever anyway. Or self-worth around money. You have a cap that you feel like you're worthy of $1 million. You will always get to 999,000 and you will stop because your self-worth says it.
What's a good exercise or process that we can follow on a daily basis, maybe something simple, to enhance our enrichment and worthiness?
Absolutely. I did this for 6 months, every single day right after I brushed my teeth. And it's the I see you exercise. And you get in the mirror now. It's not necessarily simple because you're dealing with yourself.
Of course.
And as complicated as you are, will be the degree
of the mechanics of it are simple.
The mechanics are very simple. Yes, I appreciate that distinction. You get in the mirror and you complete 3 different sentences. You want to write this down. The first sentence, you look at yourself and you say your name. So you say Lewis, and you complete this as I'm proud that you. And find 7 different things every day to celebrate yourself for. 7 different. Each day you can do the same thing you did the day before, but each day do 7 different things to be proud of. The second sentence is going to knock you down a little bit. It's going to come from your gut. Lewis, I forgive you for. And cut the shackles to blame, shame, guilt, regret, and anger. In that sentence, you cut those 5 shackles. Not the first day, maybe not the 3rd day, but by the 21st day, by the 13th day, you'll feel some relief. So, Lewis, I forgive you for. And go back 5 years, 15 years, 20 years. Do that. I forgive you for that thing don't nobody know about, but you. Go ahead and cut those shackles. Because if you can still think about it, it's still in your energy space. Yeah. And then the 3rd sentence is, Lewis, I commit to you that. Before you make a commitment to anybody else throughout your day, you make 7 commitments to you. So the first sentence is, I'm proud that you're celebrating yourself first. We are under-celebrated as a society. We look for acknowledgement. They interviewed 100 executives that all made over $250,000 and said, would you like a 5% raise next year, or would you rather be told thank you more often? 100% said, keep your money. I'd rather hear thank you. So we're under-celebrated. But first, celebrate you. Yeah. Be the example. When I was on Oprah, When she said, what do you do? I said, I recognize that I'm the example of how the rest of the world is supposed to treat me. And it's my job to give the world the best example of how I like to be treated.
Right.
So celebrate yourself, forgive yourself, cut the shackles, and then commit to yourself before you commit to anyone else. That right there,
Powerful.
that right there will begin to fill your cup up to get to your saucer.
I love that.
Everybody getting used. Yeah, you go to a job, whatever, the boss wants all he wants out of you.
That's right.
But if you don't get what you're supposed to get, you messed up.
That's right.
No matter what if my job is cleaning and picking up and doing my thing, and I'm like, I got a bad attitude and not making it happen, it's gonna suck for me. But if I'm like, yo, wait a minute, I can get a business, I can hire some other people to clean, and then you got a janitor job, you got a whole janitor position where you could turn this thing into a business, then you took everything you needed to take out of that job. It's a different mindset. And I'm telling you, yes, you were being used, yes, but get everything you're supposed to get and move on.
There's a gap between who people are and what they tell you they want to accomplish. Because in the beginning, I hired everyone.
Right.
Not because I'm super smart and thought, hey, I should. There was no one else, right? Like we had the smallest handful of people ever. And so I started doing the interviewing. As I was doing it, I started realizing, God, these guys tell me they want to do something amazing with their life. And if you just listen, like, wow, yeah, like I want to be on your team, dude, you're going to do amazing stuff. And then you realize they can't execute on that dream. So
why can't they?
They don't have the mindset yet. Like you could do an entire podcast series on how to get the mindset, but I'll just use Carol Dweck and her amazing book, Mindset.
I have it up there too on the shelf somewhere.
I'm sure. Such a good book. I see Simon Sinek up there, who is also very influential in us. Yeah. And she says some people either believe they're as smart as they're ever going to be, and that's that. And so they're going to be ego protective, and they're going to try to thwart anything that makes them feel like they're not the smartest person or whatever. And then there's people with a growth mindset, and they realize I'm not the smartest person, and I'm certainly not as smart as I could be.
Yeah.
So even if I am the smartest person that ever lived, I could get a little bit smarter. And so when they're confronted with contradictory information, they learn and they soak it up like a sponge.
Whereas other people are fixed mindset, right?
Correct.
They're fixed on like, no, this is the way and I'm right and that's wrong.
Yes. And I would say the world, everyone's on a spectrum, right? Even I, as much as I believe in it and work my ass off to be a growth mindset, I still have, let's call it 10% where I catch myself and I'm like, come on, dude, you know better than that.
Yeah.
But so people that fall in the, let's say, sub 50% spectrum of the growth mindset, it's got to be 98%.
Number one thing you have to do before you set out on any other goal or any other course is to define your expectations. Number one thing, on the outset of every single project, record, tour, define your expectations. Everyone in this room wants to make it, but I question how you would recognize making it. What is making it? Well, what do you want to be? Who in here wants a record deal? Would it be nice to have a record deal, right? We want a record deal. Okay, well, what does a record deal look like? What does making it look like? Do you want to sell 1 million copies, 2 million copies? Well, okay, let's say selling 2 million copies is like selling 10 million copies 10 years ago. So let's say you say to yourself, my expectation is that I want to be an artist and I want to put records out and I want to sell millions of copies. If that's your expectation, great. Then you sort of skip straight to another questionnaire. Okay, if you answered yes to, do I want to be a pop star? Do I want to make music for as many people as possible? Now you have to sort of change your game to fit the expectation. You now have to wonder about, is your song shorter than 4 minutes? Do you get to your chorus fast enough? These are things you have to absolutely do. And you also have to compromise, and you also have to play the game. And by defining your expectations, if you decide that you want to be a pop star, that's not a dirty word. It just means pop just means popular. Frank Sinatra was a pop star. Jimi Hendrix was a pop star. Lots of people were pop stars. What kind of pop star? Lots of people are jazz musicians. What kind of jazz musician? You can define the genre any way you want. So if you said you want to be a pop star, then you have to look at your songs. There's also people here who are a little dishonest about what they really want to be. And I think if you want to be famous, if you want to make music for as many people as possible, just come out and say it. Don't say, I want to be indie. I'm just going to be an independent artist. And really secretly wish that you wanted to be a pop star. Because from the very beginning, it's disingenuous. There's nothing wrong with saying, I want to play music for as many people as possible without compromising the things that I have to be as an artist. And that's what I've done. Sony Music doesn't come into the studio when I'm making a record, but I also know what's going to be a hit, or what stands the chance of being a hit, and what just doesn't. And it's a level of honesty with yourself that you have to have before you hand your music out to anybody else. So that's sort of what I want to say about expectations. If you only recognize success as a record deal and a big fat Publishers Clearinghouse oversized Tiger Woods check and a dinner and then going to the top of the roof and screaming, "I made it!" most of you will be stunning failures.
Every single day that we wake up, we have been gifted the opportunity of choice. You can choose to be happy or you can choose to be sad. I don't care what your situation is. You should never allow your situation to define who you are as a person. I know I lived out of my car for 2.5 years. And you know the story that I told myself in my head every day, all day long? Why does this person get this? Why does this always keep happening to me? Why do I keep getting this girlfriend, this kind of girlfriend? Why does this happen to me? How come this person got this record deal and I didn't? How come this person, why? Oh, poor pity me. Shut up, Garen Jones. The outside is the physical manifestation of what goes on inside the brain. Things do not just happen. No one just rear ends your car. You don't just become broke. Broke is a mindset. Things don't just happen. Your pocketbook is not just below balance or on zero. You're not just by chance you're just overweight. Things don't just happen. I wasn't just living out of my car for 2.5 years. The outside is the physical manifestation of what goes on inside the brain. Just like you can think yourself sad or mad or broke and all of these things, you can also think yourself happy. I'm telling you, coming from a guy that lived out of his car for 2.5 years, I have stuff that I haven't even posted online. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day month, year. It was so bad that I was numb with emotions, crying myself to sleep in my Jeep. How does a guy with so much passion live in his car for 2.5 years? It was all because of me. I deserved to live in my car. I deserved to be broke. I deserved not to have the opportunities that I should have been getting. And they weren't for me. But I'll tell you what was for me. I woke up every day with an opportunity to choose different. If you want something different, you have to do something different. It's that simple. You want something different in life, you have to do something different.
I don't have to give power. Not only I do not have to give power to my negative thoughts, but I don't have to give power to strangers' thoughts. Like, people say dumb stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like the way I look or you don't like the way I dress, it still doesn't affect the fact that I'm still gonna go and be successful. And I'm still gonna go and be the person that I'm supposed to be, even if you don't like me.
What advice do you give to people who focus on other people's words all the time? How do they move past that and not let it affect them?
I think it's just, I recommend it's a practice. It's literally a practice. And one thing I've started to do, especially on like social media, or even if it's maybe I'm out in the streets and someone has something mean to say, I will smile. And I've been working with, do you know who Justin Suai is? So Justin Suai is a sports psychologist, and he works with a lot of MLB players, and he's been working with me. And he was really helping me prepare for the regional, because I was already weeks leading up, an emotional, a roller coaster. Yeah. I think that I hadn't quite yet felt things or let myself feel things that, sorry, I've touched my mic a million times.
It's all good.
Let myself feel things that were a natural response to what I had been through. And I was starting to feel them. Like I would be completely fine, and then all of a sudden I was like, I could just like start crying. My body, I felt anxiety in my body, like not just in my heart or my soul or my head. It was like physically in my legs, in my arms. And something he talked about was like every time, you know, if I have a worry or a stress, or maybe I have like a negative thought about my own performance or something come into my head, it's like just like smile at it and let it go. And I do that, and I do it physically. I think about it. I remind myself that it really doesn't matter. And we have thoughts all day. We have thoughts all the time. And one of the best things someone told me one day is they said, you know, think of it as like okay, the birds, what they say, birds that fly over your head, we have no control over them. But what we can control is if we let them build a nest in our hair. So it's like we might have these thoughts, or people might say some things, but we can just let them go. And if we, you know, pay attention to them or give them power, that's when it's just gonna start like stirring. It's just gonna create problems. And so I definitely am practicing it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and practicing celebrating myself a little bit more. I'm not super great at receiving compliments or talking about myself for the matter. And I think that's also stuff that I dealt with, like with the imposter syndrome type thing. Like I know that I'm doing a lot of really amazing things and having great opportunity. And it's not because it's just like, because I'm a fluke and people are like, for a second think I'm, you know, qualified. It's because I am doing things. It's because I am good at business. It's because I am good with people. It's because I do work hard for my goals. I do want to help people. I do love making people happy. You know, I love building businesses and working with teams of people that want to be successful and make changes and differences. That's all real. And so I'm getting a lot better at not only letting things go that will only cause grief, even though that grief won't make a difference in if I wake up and get out of bed tomorrow. I might, like that, and that's the thing too, it's like realizing, well, is that gonna change what you do? Like tomorrow, are you still gonna get up? You're still gonna get out of bed? You're still gonna go to work? So realize that like you haven't lost chances to be a better person. You haven't lost chances to love yourself. You haven't lost chances to like be successful, because we have all these moments where you literally can just do it. Just be the person that you want to be. Just smile at the people that walk down the street because you want to be a happy person.
Right.
You know, it's just, you just get to do it.
You're gonna play big, say big. Big. You're gonna play huge, say huge. Huge. You're gonna play ginormous, say ginormous. But first, take baby steps. You're gonna eat the elephant, but take one small bite first, chew it good. Right? We want so much so fast. My grandmother says baby, she starts every sentence with baby. I'm sure it's because she cannot remember all of our names. She said, baby, the best things you'll ever have from grandma will never come from the microwave. They always come from the oven. And I was like, I think somehow she's trying to give me a lesson here. And I realized that the best things that you're gonna create are gonna take time. Build it on cement, not sinking sand. You're gonna get tons and tons and tons of tools here. And you're gonna wanna fast forward. But when you fast forward, you build it on plexiglass, you build it on styrofoam, you build it on wood, you wanna build it on cement. Your dream is important enough to outlive you. Yes, yes? And so I realized that you can't Google download resiliency. You can't Google download tenacity. You can't Google download forgiveness. They're some of the best qualities and characteristics that's gonna take you a long way that you need to invest time in and energy in and intention in. You don't just get patience. I want patience, I'm waiting for patience. Somebody's gonna piss you off tomorrow. And now you get to test if you have patience. I realized that as I wanted to develop me, I had to be willing to climb, and I wanted to get to the top, and there's no elevator to the top. I gotta do my squats. I gotta work on my quads and my hamstrings and my calves, because I gotta climb to the top. We gotta climb.
I just feel like advice that I would give is just like let yourself be so consumed in your art or whatever your passion is. It's literally the greatest feeling in the world. It's like love. Like it's, you know, to just let yourself be just like swallowed whole by what makes you feel alive and what connects you to, you know, the universe and that inner voice. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And it's such a selfless thing to share that, you know, to share that with the world. Because I think I love that there's this quote, I can't remember it word for word, but this guy says something like, share your talent and share your dreams with the world, because what the world needs is more people who come alive. Something along those lines. But yeah, because, you know, by you just expressing yourself, you kind of ignite a fire in somebody else to express themselves
in some way, you know, like,
and that would just make us all like so much happier as people. You know what I mean? Like just do everything for love, and you'll feel so fulfilled.
You know, at a certain point you wake up and you're like, I've done a lot of stuff in my life, but what do I want to do? Like, what movies do I want to make? What television shows do I want to put into the world? Because it's a lot of work.
It's so much.
And I feel like I've done all that other work. I did a lot of stuff for a lot of other people.
Yep.
Now I want to put something in it that is more representative of who I am as a person.
I feel really shitty after drinking because I don't ever drink.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I feel like you make decisions, you cut things out, your diet, and put them in based on, one, what your goal is, and two, what are your non-negotiables? Like, what makes you happy?
Right.
Like
non-negotiable.
having like a beer on the weekend because that's what you like, and the social aspect's awesome. Like, cool. That and there's nothing wrong with that. I think when you start looking at something because you're making, maybe your new goal is like something's wrong with your health, right? Now it's like, okay, well, now what is the most important? And is that more important than a beer? Well, yeah. Well, then I can get rid of the beer. It's always should be like, what's my goal? And then what are the things? Like, also, happiness is very important too. You know, like after realizing it so many times, I'm just a happier person. I feel better if I'm not hungover.
I mean, I had to. I wanted to be open about it, as I'd been from the very beginning. It was, from an athlete's perspective, it was one of the toughest things that I had to go through. And I feel like sharing that feeling that I had and the vulnerability that I had to carry myself with. And for someone that's so strong and like mentally tough and have always, I mean, at 6'2", like, you know, passionate about what she does, it felt really small for one of the first few times in my life where I didn't want to write. I didn't want to continue writing the book. It took a long time to put those words onto paper. And I felt that was important. It's part of my journey. It's part of the reason why my book is called Unstoppable, because I've had this mentality from a very young age that no matter what is thrown at you, there's going to be roadblocks and you have to overcome them, and you can.
And I also know, career-wise, how important it is not to be too highly specialized, especially these days in the world of media. It is crucial to have multiple interests and skill sets, to have tried and possibly failed at many different undertakings. The young people that we hire today at Condé Nast are fearless polymaths, hardworking and passionate, creative and curious.
Don't solicit feedback on your product, your idea, or your business just for validation purposes. Be really careful about that. You want to tell the people that can help move your idea forward, but if you're just looking to your friend, coworker, husband, wife for validation, be careful, because out of love and concern, a lot of people will express some concerns, and it can stop a lot of multi-million-dollar ideas right in their tracks in the beginning.
You will never know the answer unless if you ask. And that's what my father always taught me. He's like, you're never gonna know if you don't ask. So ask. And that's what I do. And that's kind of how I also I communicate with my team. We know we're a team, but also we know that we can talk very directly to each other, because that's how we set it up from the beginning. Right. And whoever the boss is, you set the tone. You know, this is your arena. So however you set the tone is the way things are gonna go. So I always set the tone with kindness first, and then let's get ish done, baby.